What's up guys, Conrad here with another video, and today I'd like to talk about style cultures regarding particular places around the world. In this specific case, I'd like to talk about Oslo, Norway. Now why this place in particular? Well, first of all, I recently spent a few days there on vacation and just felt inspired to talk about the general impression I had in regards to the fashion and menswear I would see wherever I go. And let me tell you, I had no idea their drip game was so strong. I mean, it really does put London to shame, to be honest. I was expecting everyone to wear puffer jackets, parka jackets, waterproof hoodies, general hiking or sailing gear pretty much. But I was truly mistaken. Yeah, you would see some of that around there as well, but overall I was very impressed with just how well so many of the local gents got the chic, elegant style down to a T. And they do it with so much flair as well. You just get a sense of inherent elegance and ultra refinement amongst the people wherever you go. At least more than what I'm used to seeing on a daily basis, I guess. If you happen to be from Norway or Switzerland, then this probably isn't much of a big deal for you anyway. But for me, observing as an outsider, it's something I can really appreciate. You get the impression that dressing well is the norm, and not just for a special occasion or business meeting. It's just part of the lifestyle, and I can get on board with that. Why not strive to look your best every day? So unfortunately, I did have to keep my stay in Norway rather short. I'd have loved to explore more of the country and see the fjords and the mountains and things of that nature. But otherwise, I would have completely drained my bank account due to just how expensive it is over there. But I had a great time there regardless, and I really tried to make the most out of it. Walking around the city itself, seeing the landmarks, exploring the different museums and island hopping. And a bit of partying as well. Had to try some of the recommended street foods as well, like toasties, brown cheese waffles, hot dogs, and also some whale on a skewer, alongside some deer and reindeer, of course. Being able to eat a piece of whale was something I never thought about doing before, and I'd say it tasted kinda what you would expect a whale to taste like fish, but with a stronger taste, kinda like tuna steak. All in all, Oslo is a very cool city, so I would definitely recommend you check it out. Quite underrated in my opinion. The vibe there is quaint, peaceful, clean, and spacious. I mean, when I first arrived there, I was like, whoa, it is really quiet here. Caught me a little bit off guard for a moment. You know how some of the bigger cities will hit you with noise and adrenaline from all the hustle and bustle of the busy streets? Whereas Oslo would be like, okay bro, when you're here, you need to calm down. No need to be in such a rush. You're somewhat forced into a zen-like state as opposed to constantly looking over your shoulder. It's a slower paced city, I would say. Perhaps because it's less crowded, but with it being a wealthy city, it feels somewhat like a utopia for those who are able to live life at the highest quality, with fresh air, fresh water, an extremely efficient transportation system. People are generally at peace and are not as stressed out by their surroundings. At least that's the impression I got during the few days I was there. And between you and me, I don't think I'll be able to settle for bottled water anywhere else apart from Norway or Switzerland from now on. You do feel that sense of eliteness wherever you go. It can be a bit hard to describe, but it can feel a tad bit sterile and out of touch with the grittiness of the rest of the world. Happy faces on bicycles and everyone is just super chill. It has everything you would want from a European city, but one could say it lacks a certain kind of passion or excitement or rawness. It's probably the opposite to that of Naples, for instance. You can just see it in the way people carry themselves, with poise. Perhaps they lived in this environment all their lives, and for that I'd say they are truly blessed. I'd be walking down Vigeland Park, minding my own business, and out of nowhere, 50 Norwegian girls are jogging straight past me from behind. It was like, whoa, like where did they come from? It's just not something I really see anywhere else. Although the impression I get is that it is somewhat a secular environment, you could say. It is a hyper-progressive society, both philosophically and technologically. But this video isn't about the spirituality of the place, but rather how people present themselves. I found the Frogner district to be pretty interesting. One could describe as the even richer part of town. The architecture reminded me of some of the nicer parts of London, but it felt more pristine. It's almost like this is what London looks like on a postcard or in American movies. Basically what Chelsea or Kensington wishes it could feel like. So as I said earlier, I mainly wanted to focus on the style culture of this city. Now what do I mean by style culture exactly? Is that even a real term? Well, it doesn't matter. But my interpretation is that it's the general style and fashion identity that is associated with a particular location or culture. It's an unspoken standard as to how one should dress given their specific environment. For instance, most of us are aware that Italy has a very strong fashion identity, especially in places like Milan. Timeless, yet very traditional. What usually comes to mind is well-fitted blazers, chinos, linen shirts, and loafers. Of course, it comes as no surprise that Italians are widely regarded as some of the best dressed people in the world. And I'm not referring to things like catwalks or how people dress at a gala or fashion week in Paris, but simply how the general public would dress day to day. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that showcase well-dressed pedestrians simply walking down the streets, just going about their day in the main shopping districts. Now, was I willing to film random pedestrians walking down the street just because they're well-dressed? Nah, not really. I mean, I barely film myself when traveling. How about interview some people on the spot and be like, hey guys, tell me, what have you got on, or who are you wearing? Didn't feel like doing that either, to be honest. When it comes to somewhere like London, it's very diverse. Not only culturally speaking, but in regards to style as well. So you kind of just have to pick which aesthetic you feel is most congruent with your personality. But when I went to Oslo, oh boy, this place is at the pinnacle of style and aestheticism, and I don't think it gets enough credit or recognition for that, honestly. And I see so many examples of people on the street who are just impeccably well dressed, with elegance and great color coordination. Generally, many people are dressed as if they're ready to do a shoot for a fashion magazine or something. People in their 20s, 30s, even in their 70s would just kill it with this style. And it's not something I'm used to seeing so often. Refinement is an attitude spread across all of Oslo. Then again, maybe it's because everyone is kind of well off, so there is somewhat of a standard to uphold anyway, in regards to image and how people conduct themselves. If anything, I felt somewhat underdressed when walking around those streets, so it felt like, damn, maybe I need to step up my game. What I would commonly see is the quarter zip jumper like this one, which seems to be a standard choice amongst the elegant Norwegians. Everyone looks like they just came out of an advertisement for Charles Tyrwhitt, even though I don't think there even is a Charles Tyrwhitt in Norway. That being said, I was traveling with just a backpack and wanted to keep my style sort of minimalist. So I decided to rock the versatile quilted jumper, Yeah, that's definitely a common staple down there as well. You know, the man in finance garment. I also wore my Sapper barber jacket to adjust to the cool, windy weather. But luckily enough, when I was there was no rain, despite what the weather forecast predicted. But yeah, I did probably look somewhat touristy without appearing like a complete foreigner. Better to overdress than to underdress in this case. Unless you're in a rough part of town, so overdressing isn't exactly the smartest move. In Oslo's hipster district, Grünerløkka, I probably pronounced that wrong, you can find many different local street foods and colourful buildings. More of an artistic and creative vibe down there. As I noticed the style there would be more of a laid-back alternative street look. And I have to say, they really do go all out when it comes to this. So when you see piercings, it'll be all over the face. Loads on the ears and the nose and around the mouth. Same goes with tattoos. Very liberal with it in regards to the designs and placement. Probably a form of rebellion and pretty much the opposite of the more commonly well put together and elegantly dressed look. So I just stick to dressing and whatever is classic. Far less hassle, but probably a bit more expensive in some cases. It was cool to be introduced to some of the more Nordic Scandinavian brands such as Morris Stockholm, Tiger of Sweden, Ricovero, Oscar Jacobsen, and of course, let's not forget, John Henrik. It would be nice to see some of these brands more widely available in the UK. But it wouldn't be travelling if you just visited mainstream clothes stores that you were already familiar with. I was also in Warsaw not too long ago as well, and I would say they have a bit of a different approach when it comes to style, in the sense that I don't feel like it's as much of a big deal down there, in my opinion anyway. What the youths would wear would generally be a basic black t-shirt, really baggy shorts or baggy jeans, and pretty colourful sneakers alongside perhaps a beanie. It's a bit more open-minded and experimental, you could say. It generally leans more towards the casual, laid-back approach. But what about the more smarter, elegant end of the scale? Well, you do get a few people sporting that look as well, but it's more few and far between, I'd say, rather than widespread like in Oslo. Like maybe if you're walking down the Novishvat main touristic street, you may see some guys sitting at a posh cafe or outside a 5-star hotel. But it's really only those people who appear to be, businessmen on a work trip. Or perhaps they're trying to impress a Polish or Russian girl they just recently met. Like, either way, they have a reason to stand out, or they're really making an effort in order to be noticed. Style culture isn't necessarily a thing everywhere you go. People may have bigger things to worry about. It's enough just to look good and presentable. So you really don't need to wear a blazer when walking down the river, for example. In fact, you would kind of look out of place, especially when the outdoor parties are popping off. Of course, you can dress elegant whilst out, especially if the venue you're at encourages it. So generally speaking, no matter where you are, you're free to dress how you please when it comes to being out in public. In some places you may want to feel like you're a part of the environment, whereas in other places you may feel inclined to just be your own person. Personally, I'm now at a stage when I would strive to dress more mature, shall we say. And so I avoid worrying about whatever is trending at the current moment. Because, to be honest, I don't think I'll be able to keep up, nor do I much care to. As long as I don't stand out in the wrong way, like being overdressed in the ghetto, appearing to be showing off, or looking underdressed in the rich part of town, appearing to be looking for money or a place to stay, when I realized that my Airbnb host suddenly stopped responding to me. And so I'd love to discover more about different style cultures in other parts of the world that may help further shape my perspective, shall we say. And so with that being said, hopefully you found this video interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.